you know we're going to find you. Hopefully we find you safe. If you're safe right now, still safe, get out while you can.
In the spring of 2022, local law enforcement was still not willing to give up on longtime guard Vicky White, apparently on the run with an inmate. They wanted her back before anything might happen, even if she was part of a jailhouse romance. Vicky Sue White and Casey Cole White were not related despite having the same last name. Vicky was 18 years and 1 day older than Casey, and they were no one's idea of a perfectly matched couple. On April 29th, Vicky helped Casey, a convict serving 75 years for a crime spree in 2015, escape. Vicky was a highly respected assistant director of corrections. She'd put in 25 years with the department and was hours away from a comfortable retirement. Her colleagues loved her. Why then would someone who had everything to lose throw it all away? That's the question we're asking on Inside Job, Understanding Vicky White, a true crime podcast from Troy Public Radio. I'm Ann Kenda. Late April and early May 2022, an increasingly urgent search was underway for inmate Casey White and now fired Assistant Director of Corrections Vicky White. They were on the run after a daring escape from the Lauderdale County Jail. District Attorney Chris Connolly and Sheriff Rick Singleton were already talking about a reward. Connolly heard quickly from Governor Kay Ivey she had increased the amount of money for information that might lead to the pair's capture.
She states that the circumstances surrounding this event indicate that every effort should be made to apprehend and arrest Vicky White and Casey White. So we thank the governor's office for their prompt response and are certainly hopeful that this may encourage or incentivize someone to come forward.
The total amount for the reward was now at $25,000, $15,000 for Casey and $10,000 for Vicky. That got people's attention. It's unusually high for a reward. Everyone had pretty much decided that a love affair between the two had begun behind bars. Earlier, they looked into whether Vicky could have been taken against her will.
What would I say to Vicky right now?
For Singleton, his former colleague, Vicky White, was in danger regardless of why she was in this situation.
The same thing I've been saying. You know we're going to find you. Hopefully we find you safe. If you're safe right now, still safe, get out while you can and turn yourself in to local authorities, wherever you're at.
So how did things turn out this way? Well, there are many ways a relationship between an officer and an inmate can go wrong. Vicky White and Casey White are an extreme example, but this can happen when two people spend lots of time together in a controlled environment where there's an imbalance of power. So what should the relationship between an officer and an inmate look like ideally? For that, we turn to Lieutenant Gary Cornelius. He had an impressive career in corrections in Fairfax County, Virginia. Now he spends his days training officers in stress management and writing about corrections issues. He says it's always good to see the humanity of an inmate, to treat them with common courtesy, and to expect the same in return. But it needs to stop there.
Some officers think, well, I'll try to be friendly. I want to be their friend. Well, you're not there to be their friend. You're there to keep them safely confined, in custody, incarcerated, and you treat them with basic human dignity and respect. If you try to be their friend, many of the inmates will take that and use it as a sign of weakness.
And when the relationship between the officer and the inmate goes wrong, what are some of the ways that it can go wrong? What are some of the things you've seen or that you've become aware of?
I think the way that it starts is when an officer or a staff person, now you have to remember there's civilians working in jails and prisons too. You have teachers and counselors and mental health people. You have medical people, we call them medics. You have maintenance people, kitchen people. They are also part of the team. Now, but in how does it start? It starts where the inmates look for weaknesses. They look for things that a staff person may do or may not do. But the inmate is very, very manipulative, very, very sly, very, very subtle. And it starts where the officer or the staff member forgets that situational awareness. And some say, well, I want to be friends with the inmates. I don't want, and so forth. I get along with them. Well, okay, it's okay to get along with them, but you still have to maintain that authority.
And Cornelius says some inmates have a way of targeting female guards in particular.
If you're a female officer, a male inmate might say, oh, how pretty you look today, or your hair looks nice. And I'm not saying they're going to sexually assault you, but the little subtle compliments, that's how it starts. And I have some good veteran contacts, people I've come to know in my career and in my teaching career and writing career. And they say, I don't want to hear compliments from inmates. I just want them to do what I want. And I want to run my unit. And that's good.
Cornelius also says there can be an adolescent quality to relationships between inmates and guards who are crossing the line.
I would say also relationships with inmates, they've been compared to high school dating. And we all remember how it was in high school, when you started to date and you started to go out, and the guys would put, they really, get spruced up and put a lot of aftershave on and so forth. And the girls would put a lot of makeup on and so forth. And if you notice a staff member coming in like that and seeing a certain offender, a certain inmate, that's a red flag. Other things that the inmates will look for is how you do your job, how good your searches are, your routine.
Cornelius says guards should vary their routine and be a little unpredictable.
The inmates will know where you start your checks, what end of the floor you start your checks from, or your morning cleanup. And you get into it's easy to get into a routine. Whatever you work in life, whatever job you have, you get into a routine. It's comfortable. It makes the day go. And inmates are always watching, and they will target people that are lazy, that complain, and they will watch how you do your job.
No one knows how or when Vicky and Casey's courtship began, but unearthed phone records show hundreds of calls between the two that date back to at least August of 2021. Allegedly, Vicky went to visit Casey on her day off just to check on him. That's a red flag for Lieutenant Cornelius.
So if you're too friendly with inmates, you're spending too much time talking to them, that could be a problem. So these things start.
Vicky White was Chantel Petty's guard when she was locked up just before she turned 18. She says Vicky was kind and helpful, but agrees that kindness perhaps made her a target.
Even when Vicky was having a bad day, she always managed to have a smile for you. Always.
Next time on Inside Job, Understanding Vicky White, we'll take a closer look at the mental and physical health effects corrections officers experience. They're subject to depression, substance use, and PTSD at rates higher than military veterans, but they don't get the same level of support.
And minimal emotional support for a job in a really challenging environment, which then routinely pushes officers and departments to their limits.
They also don't always have access to good mental health care and may feel discouraged from seeking help.
And the missing inmate and guard are finally spotted in an unexpected place.
I get on the phone to Fox News. I said, y'all want a story? Yeah, we like a story. Said, I got one. Said, I got a convict over at my car wash. I got him on camera. He said, you talking about the one in Kentucky? I said, no, I'm talking about the one in Alabama with the girl.
That's next time on Inside Job, Understanding Vicky White from Troy Public Radio. Austin Toy is our producer. Kyle Gassett edits the podcast. Inside Job is dedicated in loving memory to true crime buff Mindy Rose Morrow. Until next time when we go inside again, I'm your host, Ann Kenda.